Here's Michael Patrick Shields.
So here's how it sets up. We have our radio studio, the Gillespie Group storefront studio, and you can watch from the street or the lobby. It's right down the street from the Capitol. And there's a big window open next door to the coffee house. And there's a crowd in there of business experts and people who are members of the Mid-Michigan Business Rap and other folks who are just in to watch the show or listen or have some coffee. And it occurred to me, while I'm sitting in here with our expert panel, Scott Farragon from Cartridge World, Bob Hedlund from Hedlund Plumbing, Craig Godfrey from Godfrey Weisberg CPAs and Advisors, and Cheryl Freeborough from Hyundai of Lansing, they're essentially having their own show around a big table in the coffee house there. And so they're very animated. All the people are laughing and talking, and some of them are taking notes. And I saw Amanda Walwyn in there. What are they talking about?
They're talking about everything. Actually, I just saw Mr. Danick kind of do a little dance over here.
Did he really?
So
let's find out what he's all excited about.
Interesting. Can we talk about
what
are
you
were just talking
about?
Yeah, we were talking about the good old days in high school, and one time when somebody was trying to toilet paper our house, and Dad took the shotgun down there and shot up in the air, and my friend had running pants on, so you could hear him running away all the way up the hill.
See?
That sounds more interesting.
We never, but who would have guessed that's what they were talking about? Never would have guessed. Like a fly on the wall. And
you just look really guilty.
What about at the other end there? What?
Mr. Volman, can you Can you talk about what you were talking about?
Real quickly, we talked about a story about my mother-in-law, and she's known me since I was 14, and we talked about my age earlier today, which I won't get into. And we talked about when I moved into the neighborhood, and she lived 4 houses down, and the moving truck came up, and she came walking down, and she started telling me about the neighbor next door to leave her alone, and they would leave me alone. And I said I was more concerned about the woman that lived 4 houses down. And of course, she didn't speak to me for 2 weeks.
See? Who would have guessed that that's what they were talking about?
Didn't we learn earlier today that you'd never talk about in-laws?
Yeah, if you want to keep a happy marriage.
She says I'm her favorite son-in-law. Of course, she only has 1 daughter. Do the math on that.
Now, you'd had a birthday. You were double nickel now, huh?
Yeah, double nickel.
You're the speed limit.
Yeah, but you know what? I feel like I'm 42. So there you go. I'm 42.
Happy birthday to George Volman, everybody. He's a jolly good fellow for sure. Give George Volman 55 years worth of applause there. Thank you very much. And Jim Trebilcock was on his cell phone with a coffee in hand. In fact, it was such a private call that he went outside to do it. Amanda, let's see what he was talking about. What were you talking about?
There's too much racket around here. There's so many people. Just got to get away and get a little quiet.
That's a good point.
Just talking about the tournament this weekend.
Oh, golf talk.
Yeah.
And where is that tournament?
Walnut Hills.
Walnut Hills.
Fall invitation.
Oh, yeah. Well, you guys have fun. I've retired from tournament golf.
Yeah, sure you have.
On your suggestion, by the way. Looks like there's a budget deal, by the way, for the state of Michigan, so there won't be a shutdown, and the deficit, $800 million, will be taken care of, ready for this, without a tax increase. Mr. Godfrey, I'm sure you're excited to hear about that.
That's very good. That's very good.
What will happen, though, is a 3% cut in budgets of all the state departments. I mean, this is something that's been talked about now that the private sector has had to make cuts, and now it's time for the government to do it. It seems to me. Do you like the concept?
Yes, I like the concept. The only thing is and we've noticed it for a number of years now, is in the Department of Treasury. You know, we try and get amended returns filed and things like that. This is at the state level now, and things really take quite a while. E-filing is fine because that's all computer related, but amended returns, then you need staff help, at the Department of Treasury, and with the cutbacks and whatnot, it takes longer and longer to get things done. And then our clients and really the general public are, getting a little bit more unhappy with, those types of results. So.
Well, everybody wants services. Nobody really wants to pay for them, though, do they?
Right.
I mean, that's the age-old argument.
But with the lower taxes, or at least keeping things at the same level right now, I think that, as we were talking before, lends some consistency, and so people can plan ahead and maybe grow their business knowing what the outcome's going to be. So.
I'm glad you brought that up because President Obama is in Ohio today, in Cleveland, and he's been talking about the economy. I don't know if you've been watching for the last few days. One of the ideas he's got is to allow companies to write off 100% of new capital investments through 2011, But there are some people who aren't sure, including members of the auto industry, that that's such a good idea because that doesn't include research and development and the sort of new economy, does it? What do you think about this idea of allowing businesses to write off 100% of their capital investments?
Well, depending on exactly what could be defined as capital investments, we've had over the last few years the Section 179 election, which basically allows people who buy equipment, buy furniture and fixtures, those types of things, to write those off in the year that they purchase those and place them in service. So if this now allows businesses to write off even more, then in effect that's a tax break for them. And so yes, that should help, overall, help that business prosper.
Would they still be able to take depreciation yearly on that equipment?
No, once they write it off one time, if they expense it
it's
in
done.
that's
Yeah,
right,
so they
exactly.
would lose that
So you
yearly
lose the benefit,
depreciation.
yep.
That's right. So
You
that's
know,
something you do have to factor into, right?
Whether that's a benefit or not.
Right, because if you expense it and you lower the rates, the tax rates so much, then you're getting, in effect, less bang for your buck as a tax deduction.
Because what happens next year?
Exactly, yeah.
Now you're in the same boat you were the year before, and you've put out a bunch of cash for something, although you're getting the 100%
Well, with
write-off.
term limits, a lot of these guys are going to be gone, so that's somebody
Yeah,
else's
so that
problem.
doesn't matter.
Yeah, so something else will
research-
change.
When they do things like that, Craig, do you have the option to still depreciate it over the years if you want it, or if it's
Do
there
either
that
or.
you?
Would you have
Yeah,
it
you
Is
have
it
to
an
do
either or?
you have to do an either or. So you can elect to expense a certain piece, and then another piece you could elect to just depreciate.
So you could go
And
either way.
so,
Okay.
yeah, and,
So would there
and
be any benefit to the person that wants to depreciate?
well, there could be, just depending on their particular situation. So you kind of have to look at, and that's part of the tax planning that we will do, our firm does, is kind of look at that and kind of look out. You always have to look at more than 1 year because your decisions this year can affect, definitely
Right.
next year,
Most
maybe
definitely.
even the
Absolutely.
second year out, that third year,
And
so.
one other question I have is about the research and development part. The purchasing equipment, you're spending money. Research and
Exactly.
development is an ongoing process anyway. It should be, especially in the auto industry, because we always have to change. So I can kind of understand, I don't think it's right trying to encourage us to spend money. And the research and development seems like you're going to go it's going to be an ongoing thing anyway, so I could kind of see why they would leave that out.
Yeah, and that's been an annual, that credit. There's a credit associated with
Right.
increasing research and development activities from a base year type of thing. Every year, it's been kind of an annual renewal or an annual approval process that Congress has gone through to get that reenacted. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see, how much further we go with that also. I think that's rather important because, that helps our future.
Right.
That keeps us
More than
going.
making us spend today.
More efficient, more, exactly, that's right. So-
My understanding is that the president wants to make that permanent, that tax break for research and development, the one that you say it takes a yearly renewal. That's
Yeah,
what he's
and
going to talk about
And I
today.
think that'd be great, because Congress, when they renew some of these things, they wait until even mid-year, maybe even late in the year, that current year that's affected. And so it's hard to plan, hard for businesses to plan, if I spend this right now, because this is our opportunity window, I have to make a decision, but I don't know if I'm going to get the tax benefits. That's hard. That's,
Is there a sense of instability for all of you in business now, and does that hamper your ability to plan and grow?
On our personal business with us, I kind of shifting. We're more in the service industry as far as if people in their homes, businesses, whatever, you have plumbing, it breaks, you need somebody now. So we don't have obviously the investment in trying to come up with the new things
Facilities
as far
and so forth.
yeah. So it's more on the service, but feedback, talking to other people out there on the street in different businesses outside of plumbing and outside the service industry, I would say absolutely. People between the taxes and between healthcare, there's a lot of uncertainty on which direction are we going and how much capital do I invest, because what are you investing into? That's the unknown. I would say. there's
And
definitely
keeping
a
the
lot of
capital around because you don't know if you're going to need
Exactly.
it later.
That's
and when all of
right.
a sudden you get
Right.
surprised with new taxes and.
That's a big question for everyone, but for you too then,
for
Scott Farragon, how much reserve do you need?
Correct. Yes.
As opposed to reinvesting that? I mean, you have 2 stores now, one in West Lansing and one in Okemos.
Correct.
Is there need or talk of a third?
Well, right now the second store is only about a year and a half in, and it took me almost 4 years to get
Did it?
to go from 1 to 2. So, I'm building the second store up. It's about between half and 2/3 of the volume that Okemos is doing right now. So it's growing pretty well, and possibly there may be a third one, but that's got to be a year and a half, 2 years off. I'm
But
thinking.
you rely more on delivery than walk up, don't you?
Actually, I don't. 60% of my business
Is
walks
it?
right through the front door. Yep.
No kidding.
And only 40% of my business is business to business.
So you're actually a person-to-person consumer like me. I have one printer here. I
Correct.
need it filled. I come
Yes.
to Cartridge Road.
Come right into either one of the stores. Yes.
And when someone brings a cartridge in, how long does it take to walk out with the refilled one?
Typically, we like to have a good inventory of the most popular cartridges so that when you walk in, we just do an exchange and you walk out. It only takes a couple of minutes. On occasion, there are a few that are more difficult to refill, in which case you might have to wait. Either you could wait or you can drop it off and come back and pick it up later. It might take us 20 minutes, 25 minutes to fill.
Either way, you're saving 50%.
Either way, yep, half off.
All right. Is there instability for you, Cheryl? I mean, you got a whole new business, I guess, but it's...
Well, yeah, our instability is starting from scratch.
Yeah.
But people always need vehicles in Michigan, especially with the lack of mass transit that we have here. So everybody drives and goes up north and all that. Service is important too. In our industry, there's so much competition, but I guess there is in plumbing and everything.
Everything, yep.
So our biggest challenge today is letting people know where we are, that we're there, that we have a new product. So that's the only instability now is where do you advertise, where do you do the right media so that people know that you're there for them.
And you'll be having a grand opening next Wednesday?
Next Wednesday, have a grand opening, so we got some special sales to go with that, and we finally got product. They've upped, because the Sonata's been selling so well, they've upped the product. So they've upped the production, so we've got enough product. And over the next 2 years, you're going to see a lot of product changes, talking about research and development. Going to see a lot of changes in our products and some upscale things. So it's going to be interesting as we go along. And it's increasing all the time. People are starting to know. Our customers are coming back for service because they really like good service, and that's what you should give people that are spending a lot of money.
That's Cheryl Freeborough with Hyundai of Lansing, the Freeborough Automotive. We're back in a flash with more of the Mid-Michigan Business Wrap.